Creating a supplier in SAP Business by Design is quite a simple process. I've simplified the screen to aid navigation, but on the left-hand side here, we've just got three aspects that we're going to cover today. New supplier. To create a new supplier, click on New Supplier, and then a simplified screen appears. This can be as detailed or as simple as you want with any specific types of fields that you need. So for the purposes of this, I'll fill out the basic information and move on to the next process. Now I've filled in the supplier details, supplier name, that it's identified as a supplier. If they're involved in any RFQ or any contracting process, we can identify them as a bidder, or if they provide other services such as freight services or warehouse services, we can tag them as well. We've entered the address, their payment terms, and the currency in which purchasing is done with them. Also, their main contact information. Details, how we classify the supplier. Their payment data of how we pay them, including the IBAN if needed. And also the main contact. This is a very quick way of just getting the very basic details supplied and ready. If you want even further details, you can navigate over to View All. And then here, this is where you can actually be more granular in what you need to provide for that supplier. Because this is a work in progress supplier, I will save this supplier, which will give it a unique ID. That's given the unique ID in the solution. Now we can maintain some further details. From a communication perspective, we can have multiple addresses against one account. From a collaboration perspective, how we deal with the customer, the supplier, how we email them, or how we interact with them. So we'll just choose email, for example, and then we can have put as many people as we want in here who wants to receive the email. Once we've maintained the collaboration information, we can then again maintain the contacts. We can have multiple contacts if needed. Then from a purchasing perspective, we can add and adjust the payment terms if needed. And also from a finance perspective, which company code do we deal with, how the payments are received, including the bank data and any specific tax information. Apart from that, all changes are tracked through the Changes tab. We can also maintain any notes against this supplier for reference details. Add note, banks changing soon. And as we save here, the notes history will be updated. Date, time-stamped as always. Then also, if we have any special arrangements or any special documents that we want to attach against that. Once we're happy that we've maintained all the details required for approval, we can submit this for approval. This will then send a workflow message to the person responsible for approving such accounts, and then that will move on to the next part. The supplier has now been saved and sent over for approval. If you want to amend any of the supplier details, we can actually look at the supplier accounts themselves. By clicking on suppliers, we can then filter on the potential suppliers which are in approval. As you can see here, we've got the Bridge Valley Coffee still in approval here. And I'm going to edit this first and then withdraw that from approval, which brings it back for me to edit. Okay, so it's now been withdrawn from approval. The fields are now editable. So if I now go to my purchasing, I may want to change my payment terms, and then we can submit for approval and resubmit it, and that saves the data. Once a supplier has been approved, we can see all of our accounts here, our supplier accounts listed here. If I need to search for a particular account, I can search in the top right hand side and look at a particular supplier account. If I want more details behind this rather than just the general overview details, I can click on the account itself. This will then give me some further general information on the terms, supply details, how we've classified this supplier, and also an embedded report here looking at spend comparison. If you want an overview of the purchasing, what's the current situation, I've got an overview of the purchase orders, any list prices that's associated with the account, and also any contracts. I can then use these and drill into these to look at any further details. From a financial perspective, again, I can look at any invoices and credit memos. I can look at the account balance from one place and also any open items that need processing. If I wanted to look at any of these details further, wherever there's a hyperlink, I can drill into the document. That will then show me what actually this is actually for. We can see that this is a scanned invoice. Here's the supplier invoice of what's actually happened, the items, the original document itself, which would be in a scan using the optical scanning solution, if it was approvals or as needed. And you can see this needs to be approved by Diane Lacey. And that was just from navigating from this 360 view of the supplier. From a reporting perspective, SAP Business ByDesign has its own built-in analytics with over 300 plus reports available to use out of the box. You can amend and change them as you needed. And for this purpose of this demonstration, I'll just look at a purchasing dashboard as an example of the reporting capabilities. If I click into the dashboard shortcut, this is showing me a very simplified dashboard here of the Maverick spend. Maverick spend is any purchasing done without a purchase order. The idea being that you need to control your ad hoc spending as much as possible in there. Also, we've got KPIs, so we've got overdue amounts receivable here, and we've got purchasing demand fulfillment ratio of how well those demands for products and services are required here. So if we looked at the overdue amount payables, for example, we can drill in here. This one opens up the KPI and then also the details behind it. So we've got our aging list here for the suppliers, looking at that very basic view. We can then drill in and analyze that data, and we can do this in a number of ways. We can change the selection of how this is grouped together, 30, 60, 90 days. If we change this to 25 days and clicked on apply, this would recalculate the fields. Also, from the view perspective, at the moment we've just got the supplier and the key figures listed here, which is the supplier here and listed here. If we wanted to add some more fields, we can add maybe the company, the document number, etc. Click on OK. That will just refreshes the report and it starts to change the report as best you can. We have different selections and views. So if I change this view back to the standard aging list here, that brings it back to where we started. You can have your own personal views if you wanted to. On the right hand side, we can change this information into graphs, charts, etc. Make it more graphical representative of what it is, and also a split view, so we can actually have the aging list in a table view and how it looks like from a graphical view perspective. From an analytics perspective, yes, you've still got the drill in capabilities. So if I move this back down now to my table view, and again, here's my church pharmacy. If I click on here, I can drill down first of all and add, I can filter on church and maybe just add the company code and maybe the the due date, for example. If I click on OK, that will filter the information. And now we can see, by reducing this, we can see from Church Pharmacy perspective what the due date is and the aging is here. So we can see the amount to be paid. So on the 14th of November, we need to pay £1,320. Okay. If we need some further analysis, again, we can drill down here. We can drill in and look at open items and invoices. We can look at the payment statistics, etc. But also navigate to the business partner view. That business partner view is similar to what I've just shown you in the previous example of the 360 view. We can see the business partner information. We can see that it's a supplier. And from a supplier perspective, again, we've got the purchasing view and the financial view of that supplier. And we've done that navigating all the way from the analytics. The other thing supported is what we call insight to action. So say, for instance, you've got a supplier that needs to be put on block, or you need to change some properties. You can go again to the supplier details, go to the insight to action, and here you can set blocks and unblock this customer, set different characteristics. So you can do that without having to navigate to another part of the system to do a very simple function. With that, a very simple overview of how to create a new supplier, send it for approval, manage the suppliers, and a little bit of dashboarding stroke analytics built in as standard.